Hello and welcome to Leeds Literature Fest. My name is Ian Holsworth and I'm co-chair of the University of Leeds LGBT+ staff network, and I'm here to talk to you about Polari, the Old Gay dialect. Now, before I proceed, I need to give you a little warning. The Polari dialect was predominantly used by gay men in order to negotiate hookups and sexual transactions between each other. It gets very, very lewd. It can also be quite biting and acerbic. And it was also basically from a time that was when we didn't actually have political correctness as we understand it now. So there was a lot of racist banter in there, and there was a lot of sexism in there as well. Now, I won't be covering that aspect of it today, but if you do research it, just bear that in mind. Okay, so what is Polari? Well, Polari was a secret dialect that was used between the 1890s and the 1970s by gay men to basically negotiate sexual intercourse with each other. It was also used to obfuscate their conversations so that they could talk about people who were nearby or just talk about gay things without fear of being arrested. Basically, the idea was to obfuscate what you were saying in such a way that people on an adjacent table, unless they were gay and they actually smoked Polari, wouldn't actually be able to pick up on what you were saying. So, what is the core Polari? Well, core Polari, as we refer to it, is about 25 words that formed what were the best known Polari words back in the day. There were probably something like 570 words in the Polari lexicon, and probably more, as you can combine words to make other words on the fly. And in fact, a good Polari speaker would have been able to make up a new Polari word on the spur of the moment to communicate something that he didn't have the lexicon for at the time, or that hadn't actually been considered previously by Polari speakers. So some of the core words are words like boner, which is good or nice, Ajax, which is nearby or here. So an example of boner is Bonavada, nice to see you. And an example of Ajax would be, quick, Scarpa, there's Rosa's Ajax, which is basically, run away, the police are nearby. It also comprised a lot of backslang, and in fact, I need to go into the origins of Polari a little bit. So, Polari evolved out of a language called Polari-Ari, which was also known as Carney, which was the language of fairgrounds and of actors and of circus performers. And that evolved out of a language called Lingua Franca, which was the language of sailors, which was also the root language for the language of pirates. So, ECAF, or EEK, is face, and that's backslang. And backslang is essentially just a slang where you take a word and spell it backwards to get another word with the same meaning. So face is ECAF. We also have raya, which is hair. Other words include things like cod, caterva, which are bad, tacky and gross. So an example of cod would be that's just cod, basically. Good caterva example would be caterva calzo, which is essentially literally translates as bad cop and refers to sexually transmitted infection. One of the best known Polari words that has entered into common parlance these days is naff. which was popularized by Porridge in the 1970s. NAF has a dual origin in Polari. It comes from the old traveller word for drab and dull, and it's also got a purely Polari origin, which is not available for King, which essentially refers to anybody who's straight. So a group of NAFs is a group of straight people, and if somebody is NAF, they're straight. Lati is a room or house. Dos is a bed or place, and another example of where a Polari word has entered into common parlance. Nanti, non, not. Two words from lingua franca which made it all the way up to Polari, Omi and Palom, which is man and woman. I've already covered Raya, which is hair in backslang. Zoosh, so to zoosh your Raya is to stylize your hair. Zoosh is stylish or to smarten it up. So Raya Zoosha would be a hairdresser. Common Polari word was TBH, which was an acronym for to be had, which was used to describe somebody as sexually available. Another common Polari word was trade, which is basically somebody is sexually available, or you might describe somebody as trade if they're your sexual partner. It can also be used to describe a prostitute. Another common Polari word is Vada, which is to see or to look. So Vada the Omi with the huge bugle. Look at the man with the big nose. I know you were thinking something else. Troll is another common word in Polari. Troll is to walk, and it's usually to walk about looking for sex. And a good place where you'll find this is if you listen to the Round the Horn radio series of the 1960s. Two of the regularly occurring characters in it were Julian and Sandy, who were played by Kenneth Williams and Hugh Paddock. And essentially, they were playing two out-of-work actors who were jobbing in various trades and spoke almost exclusively in Polari and were absolutely hysterical. And they were able to get an awful lot of lewd and licentious material past the BBC censors of the day. So if you listen to them, you'll often hear them referring to Mr. Horn as troll this way. Other words include dolly and chicken. So dolly is pretty or attractive, and chicken is a young man. So he might be underage, he might be just overage. Essentially, a good example of both of those is Vada the dolly chicken. Look at the pretty young man. Menagerie is food or to eat. And lastly, the last word I'm going to cover today is a word you really can't talk about Polari without mentioning it. There are several words in Polari for penis, but Kartso is the main one, or carts. And you'll thank me for not giving you an example. Okay, I think that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this and found it informative. And if you want to contact me about Polari and get more information about Polari, or just have a conversation in Polari, please feel free to email me. My email address is on the slide deck. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.